You have no clue. That's very clear. Do you know that they're living under assumed names in China?
It states very clearly that the scientists collaborated with the Beijing military, including the highest medical research institution in the People's Liberation Army, and that Dr. Chu collaborated with Beijing's chief biological weapons defense expert in areas of biodefense and bioterrorism. And yet you said they didn't collaborate with the Beijing military. How is it possible that you could have said that when you had to have known that the opposite was true? Why were you spreading disinformation?
I don't know. Maybe I'll get 5 seconds.
Who's going to lose their job over this?
Nobody.
Nobody. So there is an act of treason, and of course treason is defined in the Criminal Code of Canada as the sharing of military or scientific information with an agent of a foreign state.
Who are you accusing?
This guy's garage. Like and subscribe.
Chair, through you, if I could, Minister, who is the minister in charge and responsible, I'll use that term perhaps better, for the Public Health Agency of Canada?
That would be me.
That would be you. Excellent. When was the first red flag raised about the two scientists at the National Microbiology Lab in Winnipeg?
Well, the first time that it would have come to my attention would have been as a parliamentarian, going back to the debates we had in the House. At the time, I would have been whip. Of course, government House leaders.
Just the date, Minister. I don't need a story.
I wouldn't recall the exact date. It would have been around that period of time when it was, 2018, 2019, that kind of time. I was a parliamentarian. I was a whip at the time.
So what you're telling this committee is that before that time there were no red flags raised about two scientists at the National Microbiology Lab who turned out to probably and most likely be foreign agents.
Well, no, I was saying at the time, that's when it came to my attention, I was the whip. If you'll indulge me, I can turn to Heather Jeffrey, who can tell from a PHAC perspective.
Just a date, please, Ms. Jeffrey.
The first concerns were raised in September, October 2018.
September, October 2018. And was it the discovery of the DSO of a patent registered in China that raised that red flag, or what was the cause of that, Minister?
Well, again, I'll turn it to...
You really have no clue.
Well, no. First of all...
Okay, thank you very much. Ms. Jeffrey, what's the answer to that? Was it the discovery of the patent?
Yes, Mr. Chair, that was the first evidence.
Very good. When we look at that, it's interesting, though, isn't it, that China requested samples to the Wuhan Institute of Virology, and then the day after that, is it not true that Dr. Chu then traveled to China?
Look, I think that at the time,
I didn't ask you about what time it was. I asked you, is it true that the
Well, it depends on whether or not you want an answer.
Excuse me, Minister, please.
I appreciate that you have a line of questioning that you want to, but if
Chair,
I'm not able to answer...
is this the type of answer that we're going to get from the Minister as we did before with this continuous interrupting
I'm not
from
able
him,
to answer the question
knowing that full well it's my time to ask questions and not his? Is that what we're going to have here today, Chair?
Go ahead with your question, Dr.
Thank you very much.
Please let him finish his question, Minister.
So, is it the day after that the Wuhan Institute of Virology asked for samples that then this agency run by yourself, you clearly admit that, then allowed a scientist to go to that actual Institute of Virology? Is that true or not?
Well, I disagree with your characterization, and if given the opportunity, and clearly I'm not, I would be able to provide context and be able to answer your question. But
well, it's a very simple question.
But I disagree with the way you're characterizing the information, and I don't think it's a fair either reflection of the circumstance.
Okay, how about this then, Minister? Think about this. Red flags were raised. The Wuhan Institute of Virology asked for samples of perhaps two of the most dangerous pathogens in the world, Ebola and Henipavirus. And then a scientist from a lab under your direction then went to China. Is that true or not?
What is true is that...
Are the facts there or not?
What is true is that at that moment in time, we were collaborating with China on, viruses like Ebola. It was part of an international effort to try to ensure human safety. And two Canadians,
Minister,
the two Canadians that you're referring to...
for a scientist who has red flag raised in their activities to then travel to a place who has requested dangerous pathogens from our lab? You think
I don't
that's
think
okay?
it's okay that the two
Well,
Canadian
you're
citizens...
justifying it. Is it okay or not?
I'm saying that the two Canadians that you're referring to, who are eminent scientists, who are well published in North America...
Through you, Chair. Minister, they're eminent scientists.
I'm
Where
sorry,
are they now?
Mr. Chair,
Where are
I
they
don't
now?
understand how this works. Am I
This
given
is
afforded the
ridiculous.
opportunity to speak, or is this...
No, this is absolutely ridiculous. Where are those two scientists now, Minister? Where are they?
So...
Where are
again, Okay, look, I don't have no idea where the two
You
scientists
have no idea?
are.
Do you
of
not
course,
read
I don't.
the
I don't track
newspaper?
them. I don't suspect that you know. That's the job of the RCMP. I'm not law enforcement. But
Oh, so,
but
okay,
I
very
think
well.
if you would
don't know
afford me
answer
the
to my
opportunity to
question.
speak,
Are they living under assumed names at the current time?
Look, there's a mirror over there if you want to talk to it. If you're interested in talking to me,
You know what?
afford me
I
the
don't need your
opportunity
smart
to
mouth
speak.
answers. What I need is you to answer the questions that I'm asking you, not your smart aleck answers. Are we going to
so
see the
far,
bombast that we
with
had
all
from
due
you
respect,
last
Mr.
time?
Chair, I have
and your
been- I've
petulant
been afforded
behavior?
no
Is that
more
what
than-
we're going to see?
I've been not able to get a sentence out without interruption.
Well, you refuse to answer the questions, Minister. That's
Well,
your problem.
that's your interpretation, and you're welcome
No,
to
that's
it.
the truth.
But not allowing me to speak,
So, Minister,
I don't understand.
where are those two scientists now? Where are they? Do you know or not? Simple.
Rightfully, it matters as to where they are, and an investigation
No,
is
do
a
you
matter
know
for
or
law
not?
enforcement,
What's
not
the
for a
answer to the
minister of
question?
health. A minister of health is not responsible for law
Do
enforcement.
you know or do you not?
Why would I know where they are?
So the answer then is no, you have no clue.
Why would I have any clue where they are?
Right, you have no clue. That's very clear. Do you know that they're living under assumed names in China?
Look,
Yes or no? These are simple questions. Do you know or do you not?
I'm not involved with law enforcement.
I didn't ask you if you're involved with law enforcement.
I don't know what you're getting at. I don't have any
I never
involvement
asked you if
with
you knew what I
law
was getting at.
enforcement.
What I asked you is, do you know that these two scientists are living under assumed names in China? Do you know or not?
I have heard media reports that might be the case, but I am not involved in law
So you
enforcement,
really
and it
have
is not
no
up to
idea.
me
Very
to
well.
assert the
then-
veracity
That's your time,
or whether or
Dr.
not
Ellis.
those statement is true.
If it's my
I think
time,
it's a
then
fundamental
his time as well,
misunderstanding
so he
of
could
the
turn his
role of a
microphone
minister
off.
of the
That would
Crown.
be excellent.
Yeah. Thank you.
Minister, I presume you've read the Winnipeg lab documents?
That's correct.
Okay. And I have as well, so perhaps you can help me with something. Can you point to exactly where in the documents it states that no sensitive information left the lab?
So I think that if you're talking about, at any time what went into or out of the Winnipeg lab, it's clear that nothing left or entered the lab.
Minister, I'm asking you to point to where it states in the documents that no sensitive information left the lab, because you stated at your February 28th press conference, immediately following the release of the documents, that you were absolutely certain, and you will see it from the documents, that no sensitive information left the lab. That is contradicted. That is at odds completely with the conclusion in the PHAC report with respect to Dr. Chu that stated, quote, sensitive information and assets were shared outside PHAC. So why did you state the opposite of what you had to have known was the truth?
Well, what I was stating, and I think it's important that we not be hyperbolic about this, and that we be rooted in truth. And the circumstance with these two Canadian citizens who, very disappointingly, in a way that one
You
couldn't
said
have
I'm
expected.
absolutely-
Mr.
I
Cooper,
don't
you
know.
took almost a minute to pose the question. You interrupted him after about 12 seconds. Finish your answer, Minister.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I think in the first order, we were in a very different time at that moment in time where we were collaborating specifically on virology and thought we had a better partner and weren't aware of the extent to which the Chinese government would have been involved in trying to influence domestic affairs.
Minister, you
And
said
two Canadian
you were
citizens,
absolutely
I think I got
certain,
about
and you
12
will
seconds
see
in there.
it from the documents, that no sensitive information left the lab. So where in the documents does it state that? Where? Because I just quoted from the documents, and it states the opposite of what you said.
Okay, so I guess I get about half or a quarter of the time that they get to ask the question. Well, that's your characterization. I think that look, I understand the effort.
Minister, can you also maybe help me with something else? Can you point to where in the documents it states that the scientists didn't work with the Beijing military?
I think
On
that
what page?
Okay, so what I'm concerned about, and you've read the documents and I've read the documents, and there were concerning things that happened there. There's no question that are unacceptable. These eminent scientists who were Canadian citizens lied to us about their engagements. That's deeply disturbing.
Minister,
but
you
I think
said
in a hyperbolic
that you made
way,
that
well,
statement
Mr. Chair, okay,
unequivocally in your press conference. And again, if you've read the documents, which you claim you have, it states very clearly that the scientists collaborated with the Beijing military, including the highest medical research institution in the People's Liberation Army, and that Dr. Chu collaborated with Beijing's chief biological weapons defense expert in areas of biodefense and bioterrorism. And yet you said that they didn't collaborate with the Beijing military. How is it possible that you could have said that when you had to have known that the opposite was true? Why were you spreading disinformation?
I don't know. Maybe I'll get 5 seconds to, so we'll see how much I'm allowed to say before I'm given the opportunity. First of all, I think that it is incredibly dangerous to play games with national security and to mischaracterize what were very unfortunate events. I don't believe your characterization is at all accurate or representative of what's in the documents. I believe it's hyperbolic. I believe its intention is part of it.
I quoted you,
Sorry,
and
Mr.
I quoted
Cooper.
the documents.
No, Mr. Cooper, he's about halfway through. Go ahead.
I believe your characterization is hyperbolic, not representative of facts. I think you are seeking to extract partisan advantage from a matter of national security. These were Canadian citizens who were eminent scientists who lied to PHAC and who worked in the area of virology. Now, you would know as well as I know that in China, every aspect...
Thank you, Minister. This is your last question, Mr. Cooper.
Minister... Oh, sorry. Think you were going to get away with spreading disinformation. Either you didn't read the documents and you're not on top of your brief, or you were spreading disinformation in a pathetic attempt to further the cover-up of this massive national security breach that happened under your government's watch. Which is it?
Minister, you have 30 seconds and you won't be interrupted. We're past time. Go ahead.
Well, and I think the truth is, and frankly, it's evident in the way that you posed your question, that your interest is a partisan interest. Your interest is to play games with matter of national security and not give me the opportunity to contextualize the circumstance. And I think that's unfortunate. And I think that it's unfortunate that we've moved to a place where matters of national security are used as partisan footballs. I think that, yes, it is deeply disturbing that these Canadian citizens who were eminent scientists behaved the way that they did. PHAC acted appropriately. They were fired. There's an investigation that's ongoing. An attempt to characterize it as some grand conspiracy is inappropriate.
Thank you, Minister.
Well, thank you very much, Chair. You know, Minister, you've been very careless with your use of the truth here today, and that's very sad on behalf of Canadians. When we know very clearly that the president of PHAC was called to the bar of the House of Commons, we know that your government, your Liberal government, took the Speaker to court to prevent these documents from coming to light. And we also know that your government called a COVID election to prevent these documents from coming to light. So your application is reckless, it's careless on behalf of Canadians, which is what sadly we've come to expect from you, not to mention you've been exceedingly careless with the truths that you have expounded on a multitude of other topics today. So that being said, who is accountable for this egregious breach of security? Who is it?
Well, in the first order, I will completely reject and disagree with what you said at the beginning. The dispute that occurred within the House of Commons was that the government at the day, which was our government, said that this matter could be, all the documents could be seen at NSICOP. And the position of Parliament was they wanted to table drop national security documents. So we can't let that happen. Carelessly treating national security documents would have profound implications for our Five Eyes partners. Now, we de-escalated that, as you will recall, by me suggesting that we have an ad hoc process with a group of panels and arbiters that could independently review those documents and make them available. Everything that I said to the letter is true. You saying something isn't true, well, an interesting, rhetorical device doesn't make it true.
Well, thank you very much, Minister, and obviously the same is true for you. The facts speak for themselves, considering the fact that you don't even know what's in the documents. So who is accountable? Who is it for this mess?
Who's accountable? I'm accountable.
You are. Excellent. Who will you hold to account at PHAC?
I believe PHAC acted in a way always in the highest order.
Who will you hold to account?
I have looked at the situation,
and
I believe PHAC handled the situation.
Who is it?
Me.
Who at PHAC? Who's going to lose their job over this?
Nobody.
Nobody. So there is an act of treason, and of course treason is defined in the Criminal Code of Canada as the sharing of military or scientific information
with an agent
of a foreign state.
Who are you accusing of treason?
Listen, I'm not here for you to ask
If you're going to accuse somebody of treason, you're absolutely going to answer for it. Who are you accusing of treason, sir?
Who are you accusing
of treason?
To make this committee bow down.
You can't accuse somebody of treason and not name them. That's totally irresponsible.
I'm here to ask the questions, and you're here to answer them, which you continue to refuse to do. So this is actually a point of privilege if you don't want to answer the questions. Is that how you want to do this?
What I want to be able to do is understand who you just accused of treason, sir. That's an incredibly awful accusation.
Do you know what the definition of treason is?
Who are you accusing of treason?
No, I'm asking questions. Do you know what the definition of treason is?
I get to ask questions. You don't get to dictate that. Who are you accusing of treason, sir?
Do you know what the definition of treason
is?
Who
are you accusing of treason?
Oh, you really have no idea.
Who are you accusing of treason?
That's exactly what Canadians want to hear.
Who are you accusing of treason?
What's the definition of treason, Minister?
If you are going to accuse somebody of treason in this country, that is a reprehensible thing to do, and I would ask that you name who you are accusing of treason.
Your questions, but you need to answer mine. What is the definition of treason? Do you have any idea?
Well, I'd be curious. You name somebody as being treasonous, so who are they, and what's your definition?
I asked you what the definition of treason is. Do you know what it is?
Betraying your country.
No, that's not it. It is actually, very simply, knowingly communicating military or scientific information or documents to an agent of a state other than Canada with the intention of jeopardizing the safety or defense of Canada.
So,
did that happen at this lab?
In neither you nor I are a lawyer, but you and I would both know that calling somebody something like a...
You know what, Minister? You're not a doctor, but you made a whole bunch of claims today that are non-scientific.
But naming somebody,
well.
saying that somebody is a traitor... Okay, is a very serious accusation, and I would say that it's normally a matter that would be determined by courts.
Yeah.
And so I'm asking, I had asked you who you would...
what the definition is, Minister. You have no idea. You're clueless.
Well, that's your characterization, and I don't know that. I think you felt that.
You're permissive.
But sir, you felt that way before you met me. You're so blinded by your partisanship, you would have thought that about me before you even spoke to me.
No, you've actually proven it today that you don't know the facts of your file. That's the worst part.
I don't know what the purpose is.
Excuse me. Retreat to your corners for a second. Go ahead, Mr. Nackvey.
I just really fail to see the line of questioning from the member opposite. What I find it even more disappointing is the constant name calling that he has taken, and I've let it go for a few times, but that does not advance a thoughtful, rational questioning. He's got legitimate questions that he wants to ask, but he can ask them in a manner that are to the point and factual beside calling names.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nackvey. I'm inclined to agree, Dr. Ellis. You're absolutely entitled to ask aggressive questions, but there's no place for insults. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. I would say I have about 30 seconds left. I think pointing out to Canadians that this minister doesn't know his file, that he's reckless and permissive and lax with security, I think that that's absolutely accurate and adequate.
Absolutely.
So the question here is then, what you're telling Canadians is that no one will be held accountable for an egregious breach of security, sending talent and information and abilities to a foreign hostile power. Is that true, sir?
Canadian citizens in question were fired. The Canadian citizens in question are under investigation, as is appropriate. They are eminent scientists who lied to PHAC and misrepresented their actions.
These are eminent scientists.
And there were consequences. These individuals were fired and under investigation.
The
fact that you are not achieving your partisan ends is not my concern.
as well, Chair.
Thank you.